Every single day you speak English, something physical is happening inside your brain. Something permanent, something powerful. And today I am going to show you exactly what it is. Fluent Speak Lab, where science and English fluency meet every single day. Subscribe now and understand your brain like never before. I want to start by asking you to think about something you have probably never thought about before. Every single time you have ever spoken English, every conversation, every practice session, every sentence you have pushed yourself to produce, something physical happened inside your brain. Not metaphorically physical. Literally, physically, neurons fired. Connections strengthened. Myelin grew. Your brain, at the microscopic level, changed. And those changes did not disappear when the conversation ended. They stayed. They accumulated. Every single English conversation you have ever had, no matter how imperfect, no matter how stumbling, no matter how frustrating, left a permanent physical mark inside your brain. Today I am going to show you exactly what those marks are, what they look like, what they do, and why understanding them will completely change how motivated and how smart you are about your English practice. Let us start with what your brain looks like before consistent daily English practice. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, nerve cells that communicate with each other through connections called synapses. When you first started learning English, the neural pathways associated with English were sparse, thin, weakly connected, like a barely visible trail through a dense forest, technically there, but slow, uncertain, easily blocked. Every time you tried to speak English, your brain had to send signals down these thin, weak pathways. The signals traveled slowly. They got lost. They encountered resistance. And the result was exactly what you experienced: hesitation, searching for words, sentences falling apart. That frustrating gap between what you knew and what you could produce. Now here is what daily English speaking practice does to those pathways. Every time you speak English, the neurons involved in that language production fire together, and in neuroscience there is a principle: neurons that fire together wire together. Every firing strengthens the connection between those neurons, makes the pathway thicker, faster, more reliable, more automatic. The thin, uncertain trail through the forest starts becoming a path, then a road, then a highway. And on a neural highway, language travels at the speed of thought. This process, the strengthening and thickening of neural pathways through repeated use, is called myelination. Myelin is a fatty substance that wraps around neural connections, like insulation around an electrical wire, and more myelin means faster signal transmission, up to 100 times faster than an unmyelinated pathway. Every day you speak English, you are building myelin. Every day your English highway gets faster. Every day, fluency gets closer. Now I want to talk about the destination of all this daily brain building, because understanding where you are heading makes the journey infinitely more motivating. The destination is called automaticity, and it is the neurological state where language production no longer requires conscious efforts, where words and sentences are retrieved and produced below the level of conscious thought, the way walking or breathing or riding a bike works after enough practice. Here is what automaticity looks like in the brain. In a beginning English speaker, speaking English activates the prefrontal cortex heavily. This is the conscious thinking, planning, analyzing part of the brain. It is powerful, but it is slow. It can only handle a limited amount of information at once, and it requires significant mental energy. But in a fluent speaker, speaking English activates a completely different brain region, the basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is the brain's habit and automaticity center. It is extraordinarily fast. It operates below conscious awareness. It handles complex learned sequences, like language, effortlessly and automatically, without draining conscious mental resources. The journey from struggling English learner to fluent English speaker is at the neurological level. The journey from prefrontal cortex processing to basal ganglia processing, from conscious effortful production to automatic, effortless production, and daily speaking practice is the exact mechanism that drives that journey. Now let me give you the 30-day brain map, what is actually happening inside your brain during each week of consistent daily English practice. Days 1 through 7, pathway activation. Your brain is identifying and beginning to strengthen the specific neural networks associated with English production. This week feels hard because conscious prefrontal processing is doing all the work. You feel the effort. You feel the resistance. That resistance is the feeling of new myelin beginning to form. Days 8 through 14, pathway thickening. The myelin is building measurably. Signal transmission is getting faster. You start noticing that some words and phrases come more quickly than they did last week. The pathway is widening. The resistance is slightly less. This week, you will have your first moments of surprise, where something came out in English faster and more naturally than you expected. Days 15 through 21, network integration. Different language networks in your brain are beginning to connect and coordinate more efficiently. Vocabulary networks are linking to grammar networks, are linking to pronunciation networks, creating integrated language. Production circuits. This is the week where you start having short windows of genuinely fluent English moments where several sentences flow naturally without conscious construction. Days 22 through 30. Automaticity emergence. The basal ganglia is beginning to take over processing from the prefrontal cortex for practiced phrases and common sentence structures. You start speaking in chunks automatically. The conscious effort required decreases noticeably. English starts feeling less like work and more like expression. 30 days, 4 stages, 1 permanent transformation of your brain. Now that you understand what is happening in your brain, let me show you how to use this science to make your daily English practice dramatically more effective. Because not all practice builds myelin equally. Not all daily English speaking produces the same amount of neural change. And knowing the difference and practicing in the way that maximizes neural development can cut your journey to fluency significantly. Science Optimized Practice Principle 1. Retrieval beats repetition. Simply repeating English phrases you already know builds very little new myelin. Your brain is already efficient at those pathways. There is little room for improvement. What builds maximum myelin is retrieval. Pulling language from memory under genuine communicative pressure, especially language that is just slightly beyond your current automatic ability. Every time you reach for an English word or phrase that does not come automatically, and you find it, you build significantly more myelin than repeating something you already know. Seek the slight struggle. That struggle is myelin growing. Science Optimized Practice Principle to Spacing maximizes myelination. Research on myelin development shows that neural pathways strengthen most powerfully when they are activated, then allowed to partially rest, then activated again. This is why daily practice of 30 minutes is neurologically superior to weekly practice of 3.5 hours. The daily activation, partial rest, reactivation cycle is the optimal rhythm for myelin building. Never skip a day. Your brain needs that daily cycle. Science Optimized Practice Principle 3. Emotion accelerates neural change. Research in effective neuroscience shows that emotional engagement during learning dramatically accelerates the rate of neural pathway development. Language learned and practiced in emotionally engaging contexts, stories that matter, opinions you genuinely hold, experiences that affected you, build stronger, more permanent neural pathways than neutral, emotionless practice. Make your English practice personal. Make it real. Make it matter emotionally. Your brain will reward you with faster myelination. Science Optimized Practice Principle 4. Sleep consolidates everything. During sleep, particularly during deep sleep stages, your brain consolidates the neural changes built during the day's practice. It literally replays and reinforces the pathways you built while awake. This means that your English practice before sleep is particularly valuable because It gives your consolidation system the freshest, most recent material to work with, and it means that getting adequate sleep is not optional for English fluency development. Sleep deprivation measurably slows myelination and language acquisition. Science-optimized practice. Principle 5. Output matters more than input for automaticity. Reading and listening build comprehension networks. But automaticity, the basal ganglia takeover that produces effortless speaking, is only built through output, through actually speaking, through retrieval and production under real communicative conditions. No amount of listening will build the speaking automaticity you need. Only speaking builds speaking. You now understand your brain in a way that most English learners never will. You know what is happening at the cellular level every time you practice. You know how to practice in the way that builds myelin, and you know that every single day of practice, no matter how imperfect, is permanently improving your brain. That knowledge, that understanding of the real physical reality of your progress is one of the most powerful motivational tools you will ever have. Your brain is building English fluency right now. Every day, every conversation, every sentence. Give it what it needs. Speak every day and watch what your brain builds for you. Your brain is changing every single time you practice English. Every single time. That progress is real even when you cannot feel it yet. Right now in the comments, tell me how many days in a row you have spoken English. Any number. Start your streak today. Hit like. Subscribe to Fluent Speak Lab. Your brain is ready. Give it what it needs. Let's go.